What's up, YouTube? I wanted to talk about something that I really wanted to do, a change that I really wanted to make to begin to diversify my monthly TBR. So I wanted to branch out and try to read things that are maybe outside of my usual comfort zone, or maybe things that I don't read as consistently as I really want to. And so I thought that one of the things that I'm going to do from here on, hopefully, is to read at least one classic book each month. And I actually started this in the month of March. And so the classic book that I read in the month of March was George Orwell's 1984. And I actually enjoyed that. Actually, technically that was an audiobook that I listened to, and I'm actually still tempted to read the physical book because while I enjoyed the audiobook and the story, I'm still thinking that I want to read the physical book just from a retention standpoint. It's just better for me. So I think I'm going to actually read the physical copy of the book here at some point. But again, March, I did read George Orwell's 1984. So far in the month of April, and I will be doing an April wrap up of my books that I've read this month, and so far it's looking like a pretty solid month. April's classic book that I read was, and again this was an audiobook, is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Now, Of Mice and Men, I actually do have a physical copy of the book, and it's actually a really short novel that you can probably devour pretty quickly. So I'm thinking I'm going to read the physical copy of that particular book as well. Now, part of the reason I wanted to do this is because there's so many great classic books out there that I have not read. And I did another video on this channel where I talked about so many of the classic books that I had not read. And actually, I had read probably more than I expected, but still not nearly as many as I want to. So for example, I really want to read Mark Twain's The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and I also want to read Huckleberry Finn. So those are two classic books that I want to read by Mark Twain. So I'm going to make sure that I get those on my list, and I do have physical copies of both of those books. I actually have multiple copies of Huckleberry Finn, and I know I have at least one copy of Tom Sawyer somewhere. It's got to be a matter of just tracking it down. I think I have a pretty good idea where it is. I've got books all over the place, in the house, upstairs, basement, in the garage. I mean, they're just all over the place. So hopefully I'll be able to track that book down and be able to add that eventually. I'm guessing you should probably read Tom Sawyer first. I don't know that that's the case, but it just kind of seems like that would be the case. So I'm going to try that to see if in future months that I can knock out those two classics. I also want to read some James Baldwin if I can here in the next few months. I have a number of James Baldwin books that I have not read but are in my collection, so I would like to knock some of those out as well in terms of classic books. Richard Wright is another classic writer that I would like to read some of as well, and just a number of other ones that I have in my collection and just haven't had a chance to read. So maybe it's a good thing for others to really consider adding a classic book to your TBR, at least one classic book to your TBR, to really help diversify your reading and to give you a flair for some readings or some writers from the past. I also had an Agatha Christie book recently that I did. Again, it was an audiobook. It was Murder on the Orient Express, which was a classic. I actually really enjoyed that audio version of that book, and I do have a physical copy of that book as well, and I might end up checking that out at some point also. So just really think about adding a classic book to your TBR to branch out, diversify what you're reading, and to just get a feel for the classics that maybe you might have missed at some point. So that's it for this video. If you would, please consider hitting the like button for this video, and also tap that subscribe button if you would like to see more content in terms of BookTube and AuthorTube on this channel.